Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our Curriculum Night, Back to School Night 2016-17. This is about curriculum and about what we do in the classrooms, but I would like to begin with a brief announcement about one of our staff members who is leaving us. Mr. Alfred Caldwell, our janitor, is taking another position with Loudoun County Public Schools. And the reason I mention him is because those individuals are extremely important to what goes on in the daily runs of the school building. And because of what they do, what he does here, that adds to what the teachers are doing in the classroom. So I think it's very important. And those of you who've been here, you see the building. You know that this building has made a major transformation over the last 2 years. And the majority of that is due to Alfred Caldwell. So is Alfred out there anywhere?
He was in the kitchen. I want to read his story.
Yes, please. I thought it would be befitting for us to kind of give him a thank you and a goodbye. I know the teachers said goodbye to him today. The children said goodbye to him today. There were some very heartfelt cards that were created for Alfred. But he's going making a move up, so that's always a good thing. He's going to be extremely embarrassed. Because he has no idea how I'm doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And I would imagine most of you really don't know who he is. So, Alfred, I figured I'd throw one more embarrassing moment on you, man. Come on in. Come on up here. I wanted all the parents to see who's responsible for what this building looks like. So it just happens that today is his last day. And tonight is our Curriculum Night. So this should be recognized. Thank you. There's not much on words. Okay, so you didn't come here to see me or listen to me. You came here to see what your kids are doing in the classroom. And I know that all of our teachers have an exciting presentation for you in the classrooms, so you can learn a little bit more about specifically what's going on in each classroom. I know Ms. Hill will be available if you have questions for her. Mr. Silva will be available if you have questions for her this evening as well as Ms. Savarino. We will have 2 sessions this evening, so if you have 2 students, one in K1 and one in 4-5, then you're able to attend both of those at the same time. The idea about Leonardo DaVinci came through Dr. Barbara Smith and Marion Guy, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of factual information about Leonardo and what kind of man he was. He was known as a true Renaissance man. He was kind of a master of everything. He was an artist, a sculptor, he was a cartographer. There you go. And then in this short presentation, we're going to talk about Vinci and seeing through the Vinci lens. And we're going to spell out what we have identified Vinci stands for, that acronym. And at the end, I'm going to wrap it up with a short little explanation of a project that was just recently done that kind of brings it all back around. So Leonardo was a painter, sculptor, architect. You can read that. I can tell you that, and that some of this stuff you will know, some of it you might not know. So I hope that I'm going to tell you some things you don't know. He was a big-time painter, but he left very few of his paintings finished. And we know the 2 most famous are the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. But he painted a lot more than that. He just didn't finish a lot of his paintings. He was a cartographer. He developed a map for Italy when Italy was at war with France. And I have a picture of that map I'll show you a little bit later on. Map making back then was not very popular. It was kind of a new concept, and he was kind of an innovator in that. He was an inventor and an engineer. He drew a diagram of a single span bridge of 720 feet back in roughly 1502, 1504, and for Istanbul, the Sultan of Istanbul. 500 years later, in 2006, the Turkish government used that diagram to build that bridge, to build a bridge. So he touched so many lives over so many years, sort of the trend that we want for our children as they move through their education, to learn and to develop an understanding of life and academics like Leonardo. These are some pictures that came from his, we call it our Leo notebook. Our kids, all of our kids have a Leo notebook, and they draw and they write in those notebooks, as similar to what Leonardo did. His notebook has over 13,000 drawings. The strange thing about Leonardo is that he's left-handed and he wrote everything backwards in cursive. So when you turn around, turn into a mirror, you can see it. So if you've never seen that before, done that, try that. And interestingly enough, some of our kids can do that. They're starting on their names right now, really, but to me, it's fascinating to watch them do that. I can't do it. There's some more pictures. Wings, the famous drawing of his horse, the horse. This is the map that he drew. He was also, this is another interesting fact, he was also an engineer. And he was a military engineer that helped develop weapons, even though he despised war. He despised war, but he helped, as an engineer, he helped develop weapons. The I in Da Vinci stands for inquiry. And through the Leonardo da Vinci plan, and I'm not going to insult you by reading, but we want to cultivate children's curiosity, their creativity. We want students to live with focused thinking and problem-solving activities. Those are two 21st century skills that are being taught everywhere. But we also want to make sure that they are learning through curiosity and creativity and together. The interdisciplinary approach deals with taking several subjects, putting them together, marrying them together, so we can come out with different things, art and math. And those new parents, you will see when you come to our Leo nights that not only in the classroom where the math and science and reading and language arts are being taught and developed through those projects that the children are doing, you'll also come in here and you'll see where art and music and PE and dance are also incorporated into our curriculum, and they're developing projects in that particular way as well. The N in Vinci stands for note. We want to make sure that we're writing down and exploring what we're learning. The MCCS Leonardo DaVinci Model. We provide students with explorations of their academic studies and interdisciplinary thematic units. Our thematic units for this year, we've already had this figured out. The teachers and I got together at the end of last school year to develop the thematic units for each quarter of this year. And they're all dealing with exploring like Da Vinci, or exploring like Leonardo. The first quarter is exploring identity and location. And within those thematic units, the standards of learning will be incorporated and taught in the way that our teachers through the Da Vinci plan will teach them. Our second quarter, you'll hear this later I'm sure, is exploring our origins. The third quarter is exploring systems, and the fourth quarter is exploring cycles and patterns. And the teachers will break that down a little bit more for you a little bit later in the classroom about what that really means and what that looks like. C stands for create. We want our children to be able to create something, not just see it and visualize it and understand it cognitively. We want them to be able to create things as well. Inspire, and this is where they present and inspire other kids that learn like them and don't learn like them to understand what they're doing and to help develop that sense of academic and social behavior. So you have view, inquire, note, create, and inspire. So I'm going to give you an example of what we're doing here. And this happened in Ms. Escobar's classroom over the last couple of weeks. So we have a butterfly garden, and she had our children, and all of the kids have been out doing this type of thing already, observing and viewing what's going on. But in this particular case, her children were viewing the butterfly garden, and they were writing down what they saw, and they were drawing. DaVinci was big on drawings, 13,000 drawings in his notebook. They were drawing what they saw. Then they there were questions that were asked of them. What do you think that butterfly eats? What kind of habitat do you think they're from? Questions like that, so the kids had to think about it. Then they put all that information into a notebook, and then they created, in this particular case, it was a visual aid on a poster. They created what they had thought, what they had seen, and then the last part of it is they presented it to the class and received feedback from the classmates about what that looked like, about what that project looked like. Now that's an example of a micro project. The quarter examples are of a macro project, the project-based learning. Cara Morgan and I had an opportunity to go down to Atlanta last year, and we saw we heard, we didn't really get a chance to see, but we heard other educational specialists talking about project-based learning. And we came back from that, and we were so excited because in our minds, we got this. We're ahead of that game. But that's a different story. The bottom line is, I can stand up here and feel comfortable telling you that what we're preaching is what we're practicing in the classroom. And I want you to take an opportunity tonight to take a look at what the teachers are doing, ask questions if you have them, and if you have any questions of me, I'm going to ask you to see me at a later time, because I don't want to take time away from the classroom, because that's where everything happens, that's where it's most important. I do want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank you for your attention and your time, and I want you to have a great evening with your teachers. Thank you. Got it. Oh, you want to put this one back in? Dave Larson. No. Sarisha Kapula. Patty Collins. Okay, thank you. You can go, please feel free to go to your classrooms, and I'll see you later on this evening. I'll be walking around.